Pokemon, and this is another Master Master. This is Phoenix here again with another couple matches. Today, I pretty much worked with getting stuff done. Also started watching Pokemon, and almost to final round of Ash and Greninja, and now it's gonna start. First will be Traptrix. There's not much difference in my deck besides taking a couple of cards here and there. Just to make this deck more functional, I hardly use Droplet in this deck, so I didn't feel like it was worth. Other than that, most of the deck's usually still the same. Still using a couple of spell cards, mostly these two, which is most useful. Held out deck for backup plan, secondly. Will be my second deck, will be Pendulum branded, aka Albaz. There's not much difference in my deck, I think. Last time I might have mentioned Chimera. As a backup plan, mostly getting outs. There were a couple matches where I made some miswipes with this deck. I will be showing them instantly, and also this deck's gonna be edited a little bit to not to go work with Luber going down by one. And everything. Still thinking the ratios up for it to mostly compromise it. Besides that, let's get straight to our first match. Now we got here today mostly the standard of Cyber Dragons Versus. The only difference is compared to my build, it's not using Veer. Which I guess it makes sense for 3 Maxi though, but I'll still run at least 1 or 2 Veers, with just 1 Maxi if I did. Besides that, 2 Ash. Mostly it's just staple, but run more Kajus. And no new Beer, which really shuts down most plays. 1 less for Geki, Machine Dupe. Power Bonds were probably the one thing at least I run. The tricky part is mostly getting the materials. Overload. I would run more Overload personally. Cyber Mercy, whatever. Cyber Playlight should be at 2, personally. Cyber Rev system is alright, I guess. Lightning Storm is alright, since you're always going second most time in this deck, but probably want more than 1. I'm still a diamond out, but I just hardly use it much. Since you don't feel like it. Fusion Deployment, interesting tech. Cyber Horizons is the one thing I consider odd, I feel like, for the deck. Cyber Low Fusion is alright, mostly your opponent's turn, I guess. Permanent Drama is alright. Flow, I'll probably... at 1 it's alright, I guess, according to Solomon. The only thing I don't is... okay, I guess it's alright. I guess you should only run 1. Attorney should be at 0, personally. They should run more Affinity, more Zeus. Not much difference. I will say, for this match, I was a little bit afraid once I saw what was going to happen. Since I was going first, and they immediately maxed me, as you'll see. Most of my hands, it was alright. My main plan was going to Blue Eyes, going to Jet. Maxi mostly made me afraid what was going to happen, so I decided my turn. Since I do not know what I'm dealing with. Most of the hands is pretty much dead, and we all know how difficult to play to go into Cyber Dragon Nova, but they should have a rank 1 so they can actually utilize Affinity skill, so they have 4 monsters to work with. Also, they immediately targeted one, so I was like, what the heck is that person doing? And I was like, they would just have enough materials, but then I noticed they were trying to speed up this combo, which they should have just gone to over earlier. They still had enough materials, of all things. Actually, they win it. It's more machine focused. Next up, my Boran was alright. Get rid of Fusion Token to Mirror Jade. Get rid of that, banish it. Use Brand Fusion. Go into Robin. Robin will just banish those 2. My grave. Go into Lobin, who I don't use skill. So this really doesn't matter since this is a game. Finish Destiny for lols. I decided to get each of them reading, but opponent decided to quit on me, which was sad. Next type is that against that trigger, who's trying to at least play, or at least trying to do some stuff with some cards like mostly adjusted. Most of the spells that there's nothing to talk about there. Also, F. One of them was in my match after this, so it doesn't really matter. I mostly just pause this and just go straight into that. Oh well. Just tired for some reason today. Just fell off. I don't know off this, but I'm just fucking all in all. I said I got a draw blade since I probably won't need it. Since I have imperm. First off, this is where I made one misplay. Was not keeping aim per my hand. The call gave this for some reason. Because I'm not activating yet. I should have kept aim per my hand, so they forced to shut it off. Also, I should have, and this is where I should have actually activated Mary Jane myself. And this would have actually ended the game. I had no outs because they set the spell card again. That's about it. Next up, it's Zombie World. Nothing else new, nothing else typical. Just mostly utilizing most of the zombie engine. It's either rivalry warlords, which I hate. Because RNG, if I get the outs, it's just more of a budget one with everything else you get from the structure deck and looks of it. Pressed off, cross out, then max C. Then most of my hand was already enough where I was like, I'm confident I can work with this. Do the cross out. Next I'll use branded. Send these to the grave. Get my engine working. If I had blue eyes in my hand, or jet, my combos would be different. Most of the time. Personally, this is my hardest match yet. I signed an anti-spell. Assuming they have Zombie World in the hand somehow. I don't want to work with it, so I got rid of it. Their monster, Jackalope, will just allow them to special them back up, so most of this is win. Actually. Huh. I'm really looking at my play, I actually should have just banished it myself. Lol. Should have just banished this one, apparently. My combos will be different. Also, they just, chain-wise, they just activate Gozoki to activate the special in my hand, so apparently I made one misplay there. I didn't realize the time now. Huh. Which is interesting. I trust it back to hand. Add branded red, which I should have said. The only reason I'm using anti-spell fragments is because I need it. Add this. Set these three. I decided to get rid of it early on. Since it has to permanent the bigger threat, Necro World would not matter with that monster in hand for the quick effect, so that was already my main play. Red. I was hoping to fuse off of my monsters right here, but I couldn't. Let's see, it's a beast though. Set my second Claw Grave. Oh no, it's on the last knees. Last turn. I said I maxed it here. The book might hear me, but it would help me a lot if I can actually get most of my stuff. This is where I wish I still had branded and red on my hand, on my field at least, so I can utilize it. okay, get rid of it. It wouldn't have mattered, but I was like, might as well. I was still finished shuffling a middle replay, but I didn't. So I deflected using Branded Lost, which I had said the whole time. I wish I had one more blue eyes, like Sun or such, but that's about it. Okay, next deck is against Pendulum, utilizing perform piles, mostly engines. I'm not utilizing the Zork Gauge as much. Aside Albaz Dragon, my deck here was my Trap deck, so this deck was already outed once I saw Gravity. There's not much to talk about deck-wise, most our decks are the same. I'm happy when it's actually going to be unlimited. So I go Traptrix way, which I need to go first. Next I go Syria, and turn with Delegate Treble. Realized I made Eli's Floodgate too early. I still hold off on it. That was my misplay. All those wizards, I forgot what its effect does, so that was a misplay on my part. Go to the fire plan here. There's nothing else I got attack point wise. Outside Phoenix Forcer. I should have aimed for one of the other ones since I didn't realize it will special summon Albaz Advance and add a spell card. Which was a big misplay on my part. Albaz Gravity was essentially where everything else would not matter. I realized I utilized its effect too early. Which I shouldn't have done, but most of my spell cards would have been returned. It would have been Pendulum Fusion that would end me. And I should have actually figured that part out. Since my opponent's monster would not worked, I was too afraid of it. I made one misplay, but I just wanted to get done with my daily at that point. Next up, Paradise is redrawing a roll with some dogmatika cards and cards that gain their life points or such, and cards that allow them to do stuff. Next up, tournaments monster cards like Blaze Cannon. Huh. Didn't release this card actually. I see the ring dragon. Huh. Release the other card. Interesting. Soul Crossing. Cards that are generic outs, essentially. Outside that, nothing much outside of standard law, I feel like. The only thing it's weird, it's not saying Ash, but Max C would have been much better. Actually, he is there, never mind. Marsh Island, it's not surprising. Aside that, let's get straight into the video. Most of my hand was bricked. I said, might as well play out. Ran Lightning Storm since I technically don't need it. Let it smash out, I felt like. Going brown and red. Go into Lobbin. Or Lobbin into Mudra. So it's Isu. Next time I activate to spell fragments. Enough for a game. This I get rid of it. This I gave up here once I decided to do that. And as on my next turn, I would have 5 cards. 6 cards. Until I decided to give up here. I felt like it was a good short. Next up, pretty much this gives dragunity, utilizing cards like Summons or Dragon, Dragon Divine Buster so to lock you out. Cardo to stand their place. Blackwing mostly so I go try one cards back to hand. Nameless Quarter. Mostly to extend their banished place cards, I'm guessing. With Rise Darkness. Ruler Storms. Doso, the Josh Dragon's Fruition? Mostly standard stuff I see. Thunder Dragon's not surprising enough to me. Portal Slash, mostly backup plan. Next up, just go into regular ranks. And start doing some plays. Not much, just standard. Standard, what I consider Dragon OTK. Opening hand-wise, it was alright, since I was using a Traptrix deck though, but not much I can work with. I just paid out 4 cards. The one thing I regret is not sending this one in. Have to be a call by the grave, you're it. Go into Sorcery, says I know what the other one is. Go into Syria. Go into Phantom Knights. They would draw 4 cards, 3 cards easily. Return this to Floodgate. My hand, special summon, set. Go into Ruffle, so I can actually have out. Next time I do my turn, my utilizing my shot. And next time now I know I can't go to less than 4 the rest of the game. I was like, it's not gonna help. As soon as I saw this, I was like, miss baby. Miss. I was like, you're just going for a rank level 6 at this point. And I was. Next up, it's just a standard Pendulum deck. The only difference is utilizing Dark Renewal for the most spellcasters, the spellcaster variant. Aside that, there's not much difference compared to normal, I can see. On top of my head or seeing. Not much to talk about. Most of my hand was alright at this point. I decided, I can risk most of my moves. Going to Brand and Red. If my opponent decides to destroy it, I have it out. And I was like, I'm dealing with spellcasters. Interesting. Okay, we're inside Albaz. Go into Spain, Fusion Token, into Alabin. Go into Alabin. Discards too. Go into Lubin. Go into Mirror Trade. Next time we go to Narcos. Branded Red, I decided to get back to in my hand. Next up, go into my main out, being Card and Chimera. so my hand goes back to full. Go into Magic Fusion. Probably decided to go up since they knew there's essentially no outing me at this point. Next deck, essentially the Strike Frame, utilizing the engine, the Gamma, Thunder Dragons, a little bit of Spain, using Ash, Loaf, Albaz, this, Thunder Dragons, mostly just primary Thunder Dragon deck, but nothing much out of the usual. Outside that, not much to talk about, since most of the stuff is mostly stable, as far as I can tell, except for one card. This, but it might just be a budget card. So instead, they utilize some stuff on one side of fields. With all that in mind, when going to stuff, but I see no way to special summon the field, so they might just be utilizing it for a secondary effect, I think. Aside that, I don't see anything else. They should be utilizing Silver Poly. Besides that, let's get straight into the match. Most of the match, I'm just trying to get most of my Traptrix dailies out of the way for traps and links. Aside that, I decided to do that. I decided to go for a tourney here. Activate channel. Do a random card in hand. I forgot to activate Gravekeeper. I forgot to activate that trap card. Otherwise, I would change it well. Outside that, I got most of their combos once, which is a rare play to Traptrix to essentially to detonate Despia in general, and I was like super hyped until I just saw the deck list. Next deck essentially is a pure zombie deck most of the time. Using Stardust for a secondary, more level 8. Outside Skeletal Froggator. Not much difference than I usually see for most. Outside that, just get straight in the match. Once you see one zombie deck most of the time, it's usually all the same from there. Most just utilizing Eldritch most of the time. Or some of the cards and excellently utilizing Miner's Eldritch engine. Well, being analyzed, I was right. I was already gonna pass my turn there, and I was like, there's just way max C. Sorry to go into Red Plant. This time I asked here. Mostly be a call gave a cross out. I was like, you made me do that for no reason, and now pretty much all you got is one blue card. I hope you're happy. This was my toughest match because I had no outs here immediately. And we both on my plan had Doom King in the grave. Called by the grave on hand saved me. The cross out would have been better there, so I'm actually glad I negated early on. The Geki, so at least I have a slim out. Try Brigade, go in there. Go through a little meat down. At this point, it was more like a stalling match. I could guess the card they need to essentially out stuff. Ash was my safety net most of that match, if I recall right. Really rare when Ash got some MVP, for defense wise. Super probably has value, I was thinking in my hand. Geki is the only way I can get outed. That was like my point. I only need one more monster, and I don't think I can pull this off. And I was like, Branded Fusion! I can work with this. Here with this. This probably has more value here. It was just a pure comeback victory, I think, which was awesome. Actually not be for defense wise, which is probably the first time I actually used it for defense. Next up, last deck, essentially just a brick heavy Blue Eyes deck, essentially using a lot of cards. No effing reason. I can't even explain all of this because I know it's because most of these plays are kind of obvious. Once you build a Blue Eyes deck pre-Jet era, everything else comes similar to what Shifting does. And Blue Eyes Solid Giant is probably the worst thing I think you can actually tuck in. It's good in the field, but that was about it. Your major damage is mixing up these two and going to Blue Eyes with Ultra Poly. Aside that, there's nothing much to go into. Nothing unusual. Also, because of how heavy that Blue Eyes deck was spelled out with so many brick potentials, instead of like at least 40, like 48 is pretty much the major one to go towards with a heavy Blue Eyes deck. So it's calling it super heavy brick deck obelisk. Because really, there's so much stuff to do. 11. Albaz. Since I have an Albaz in there, mostly for branded red, to mostly come up with. Go into another lot. Two. So my two main aces there. I was wondering what the heck they were originally gonna do there, but then I was like, oh. In Premiere. Branded red, get this back to hand. Banish it with all three. Go into Guardian Chimera. One misplay in that cost in the whole match because of how brick that deck is. Also, I decided once I'm done with my hiatus, with summon drill at least 2 times a week, I'm deciding. Except for yesterday. Yesterday was just mostly a half a day. Mostly 10 hours of watching Pokemon, the EdgeImp series till the end, and also I decided to do a tier list of songs for Pokemon once I reached at least the last season of Journeys. We listen to everything for every spin-off for opening wise. I hope you guys have a great time wherever you are, and this is Phoenix signing out. Have a good one.